even just having that prison guard on the show in that early stages, that was massive for me, bro, because even the prison guards, like, in that world, that scene is like, you know what I mean? Like, so even just having that prison guard, and he was a prison guard I knew as well. Yeah, but he was well, he had done an interview over in Australia, and it sort of went viral and stuff. And then when I saw it and I knew him, I was like, oh, I'll hit him up to be on the show, you know? And, but yeah, even that was a huge step for me. But the thing is, you know, at the end of the day, like being a born again Christian, I sort of see like my past of like criminality and like gang behavior and stuff like that. I see that as that's not even me anymore, you know. So, you know, in a sense, I would just like to move on from all of that stuff completely. But obviously, God had a plan with the FELON Show, so you know what I mean. So that's why I've sort of stuck it around. But yeah, I mean, the reality is most people would just want to move on with their lives and forget about all of that stuff. But there's coming to a sort of a shift nowadays as well, where people are sharing their stories now. You know, I mean, heaps of people are sharing these stories, not just on my platform, but even in Australia. You know, you got like Spaniard, and he's interviewing a whole bunch of like crooks and that as well, who are sort of showing the realities of what their lives were actually like. You know what I mean? All these well-known bank robbers and that, we're finding out now that they were in these boys' homes where they were being electroshock therapied and raped and all of this sort of stuff. Like, we never knew about any of that. You know what I mean? Like, and even some of these that abuse and state care video I did, bro, like, those people that were speaking at that event, like, those are some, like, pretty well-known, like, those are some pretty well-known, like, gangsters in this country. And they're talking about just all the messed up stuff they've gone through, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it was so powerful, to be honest. And yeah, just to be able to film that and to be in there amongst those sorts of people and shaking hands with them, I mean, it was a blessing for me, especially because I'm not in that world anymore. So it's cool, like, I get to know them through something else other than crime, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, because there was some, man, I remember this one dude come up to me and he goes, hey, you know, love the show and this and that, and he was shaking my hand, and I was like, yeah, we were talking away. And then later on I went up to another guy, I was like, bro, where's that guy? Because there was the guy that had sort of based a movie on him. And I was like, I always sort of looked up to this guy, you know what I mean? Like, hey?
Was it Larry? No.
Nah, it was that Dennis Luke. Yeah, he did 2 life sentences. They did that movie, with the, yeah, it was a movie, Resolve.
Oh, true.
Yeah. And, but I was like, where's that guy? And he pointed to him, and I was like, oh, that's that guy that came up and shook my hand before. And I was like, what? And then I went up to him, I was like, bro, can I get a picture? And this and that. It was a hard case. But yeah, but to be able to meet him in a position where I'm not in that life, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just, like, to be honest, you know what I mean? I view the best way to move forward would obviously be to leave gangs and to leave that all behind, you know. But, you know, there are a lot of gang members that are trying to do good things. So, I mean, anybody that would come out publicly trying to do good things, especially in the gang world, because that's dangerous, you know what I mean? Like, coming out in the gang world saying that you're trying to do the good things, even if you were lying about it, it's pretty dangerous, you know what I mean? Because you can rub up other people the wrong way because they're not trying to change the image, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so anybody that sort of steps forward wanting to change and wanting to help, I mean, they got my support for sure.
I had a prison guard on the podcast a couple of years ago, and he was talking about his training and to become one, and then his relationship with the inmates when he was working. He's not a prison guard anymore, but he was at that time. And I remember he was talking about the story and all that, and then we finished the podcast. And then all comes out the real stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. You know, it was like about the system, how it's bad, it's wrong. Like some of the things that he has to do, and that it's and like I was like, man, he should have sit down and fucking. He doesn't want to get fired, you know.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of stuff, eh? Like,
Yeah. I mean, prison's a world in its own, eh? It's its own world with its own sort of rules and things like that. I mean, it's a place obviously you can get used to, which is unfortunate. Man, I know heaps of the guys that sort of I knew that I had done time with that had really been through the hard units and been through Supermax and solitary confinement. Bro, to be honest, most of them have lost their minds now, you know, like a couple of them are sort of those guys out on the street you see talking to themselves, and bro, they just, like, that's why jail is just such an ugly place, you know what I mean, because Because let's say you're in those positions when you are at war with the screws and you are at war and you are doing all of this. But the thing is, when they torture you and they do all those bad stuff to you, to them they're just thinking they're just doing it to you in that moment. But really, it has a lifelong effect. You know what I mean? And you see it. You know, like I said, guys that I've done time with, they've just lost the plot, bro. You know what I mean? Just gone cuckoo, man. You know, hearing voices and this and that. And it's sad, bro, you know, when you see them and it's just like, man, this dude used to be like someone I hard out respected, you know what I mean? Like, and now he's like the wino on the corner of the street who's talking to himself, you know what I mean? And most people walking past him would just think he's a bum, you know, not realizing like this guy was actually a G once upon a time, you know what I mean? Like this guy was actually putting in work and now look at him, you know what I mean? Like, that's why it's just such an ugly world, that world, you know, like the promise of riches and all of that. Bro, from what I've seen in that criminal world, the ones that actually make money and kill it, it's only a very small percentage, you know what I mean, of the criminal world that actually make money. The most are just petty crooks, man, you know what I mean, just trying to live day to day, you know. And that's the lie that a lot of people believe, you know. They think getting into that life of crime can get the money and this and that, but it's just a life of struggles, man, you know. It's definitely a life of struggles and drug addiction. And so, yeah, I mean... yeah, it's all about just sharing my own experiences, and obviously people are resonating with it, and I'm being able to share other people's stories as well. Yeah, it's just all glory to God, man. I'm just super grateful and grateful to be on the show as well, boys.
It's interesting. You talked about the money you get. There's small percentages of the criminals that make big money. And I remember reading a chapter in Crime in America how the petty drug dealers, drug dealers that stand on the corner, like they're saying that they make the same amount of money if you were to work minimum wage at McDonald's or something, you know?
Yeah, exactly, bro.
You know?
Yeah, no,
well,
exactly. No. Well, even when I did come back and I did start working, you know, every day and all of that, that was the realization I came to as well. I was like, man, this is just, it's just steady income, you know what I mean? Like, I should have just done this ages ago, you know?
I remember in one of your episodes you talked about when you come back to New Zealand and you just saw how expensive it is here and how the wages are really low here compared to Australia. Because you're in Melbourne there. Yeah. I just had lunch with a friend of mine yesterday, and he lives in Sydney. He's been there for the last 10 or 11 years. And he was saying the same thing. Like, he's come back home to